for attending session 6B. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So you've seen some parts of this presentation, especially the TSRP awardees in the past. You saw the Hollis, the overarching speech and the bubble plot and how we are looking at where the TSRP money is going and how we are doing the distribution or research committee is planning for next allocation. But let's look at the numbers a little bit. TSRP, so when Hollis took over in 2016, but we really started this RFP process in 2017, and that's when we funded 17 projects, 11, 14, those 3 years. There were, solicited, what we mean is how many proposals came and then how much we were able to fund. We were able to fund about $1.5 million for a couple of years, 2-3 years. Now we are up to 82 projects in total in TSRP funding. One other way, instead of bubble plots, maybe we can look at it this way. These are the people who got the TSRP awards 1 year, then in 2020, and then 2021, and then the most recent here. So I see a lot of familiar faces there, so it's great to see you all. Again, going back to it, in 2016 and 17, there were some continuing projects that continued on, 11 of them. We tried to slice and dice this data, and one way we thought was reasonable is look at the scale of the project, micro level, material, structural, network, regional, and so on, and then look at some 5 other components, geotechnical and PBE, methodology, structural, tools and applications, okay? And then each year these plots kind of grew, as we went 2020, and then from 2021, research committee determined we should do something more on the regional, so you see a bit more population in that area. Now, this is not quite like a distinct point. There are some people who are doing spanning across multiple. We actually want you to collaborate and do some things that span different things. So it might mess up my bubble plot, but if it becomes a beehive, we have no problem. We want you to do spanning across the boundaries and doing a lot of other things. So across the institutions, so PEER is 11 core institutions. The institutional board reviews, what we do and all that. So how is the distribution among the core universities? You see some numbers that are, variable. It is in a way indicative of the size of the earthquake engineering research program in a respective university. So that you see a reflection of that. But in general, if you have more proposals, there is a better chance of a higher number of projects being funded. And I do want to delineate or give a tip to UNR, University of Nevada, Reno. They just joined PEER 6 years ago, and they already had 35 proposals. So it's quite remarkable how active UNR team has been. Okay. So those are some of the numbers, and then what is happening, who is getting what? We are an earthquake engineering research center, so earthquakes are the main focus. A bit on tsunami, a bit on fire, but they are actually tied to earthquakes. And then we look at a few different levels, the theoretical, computational, experimental, and so on. Then there are other ways of looking at it. The PBEE triple integral, there is the hazard part, then there is the analysis part, there is a damage and loss part, so we can look at the distribution across those also. While looking at that, the gaps we see are infrastructure type. We obviously have a lot of bridges covered. Okay. I'm wondering if they can hear me, but I should make sure you hear me, right? So the TSRP is state of California asking us to look at the transportation network and improving the resiliency of transportation network. So there is a lot going on to the bridges. Buildings, whatever is connected to transportation, we do cover those too. But nothing much on tunnels or airports. So that is something we want to improve in the coming years. So if you can send proposals focusing on those, we would love to see those. The PBEE, we talked about it. A lot of work on analysis. Hazard side, again, we are pretty strong. It'll be good to look a little more at the damage and a bit more on loss side so we can get a good range of things going. Need for more experiments. We just heard something in the previous session. As we look at it, very early on, there were 5 experimental projects. They took up 2/3 of the budget. And experimental projects are expensive. They are about twice as expensive as an analytical project. We kept funding a few every year, and things remain about where they are right now. But the computational ones just have exploded. So research committee kind of sees the need to, for the next RFP being more experimental focused. So that's what you're going to see in September, October. We're going to have an RFP encouraging you to use the facilities you just heard about in the previous session. Now I come to a bit more sobering parts of the presentation. So what is happening? You get the award, and then what happens to the whole thing? A peer report at the end is what we really want, okay? You get the publications, we give 3 to 6 months after you finish the thing, but at the end, we want you to do a peer report because that is the stepping stone for the next researchers to come in and build on it. And we want to do collaborative work, we want the peer community, all that. So you need that report done, okay? There are 82 or 83 projects, 47 of them have been completed, right? So we have only 27 reports, okay? And then you look at the completion, there are still some that are pending from 2-3 years ago. The pandemic played a bit of role, I agree, but if you're looking at it like a project manager, what you would see is really 20 missing reports and 25 overdue projects, right? So we want you to complete your peer reports and submit to us so we can have some much more pleasant numbers. So we didn't have much of success in the earlier projects, so we tried to put in a carrot saying there is going to be a DOI with the peer reports, and that had some effect. And then we started putting these as requirements into peer projects contracts. We have 3 requirements. We want a proposed summary or research highlight, as it's called, at the beginning of the project. Then the funding begins. We want you to attend these meetings like peer annual meeting or researchers workshop. So you share the research with the rest of the peer community. And then at the end, we want to hold on some part of the funding for a peer report to be done. So if you go to our webpage, if you see the name of the project highlighted, when you click on it, you get a research summary like this. Explained in simple words. It's not exactly what you wrote in proposal, but explained it in a better way so somebody who's not an expert in that field can still follow what is going on. So that is the first thing we want you to start. And then the second thing is, if you go to our website, the last column tells you if a project has a peer report or not, okay? And we want to see that all populated, but it's not quite. But so you can see where we want and that peer report. It's really finishing off of a project for you and providing the stepping stone for the next ones coming up. So collaboration, intentionally left blank. We want to see more collaboration between projects. Peer annual meeting is a great place to interact. It's an incubation chamber for several prior big projects, but peer projects are small in size, 50, 100 grand, maybe 150 when you do experimental work. You have to work with each other to build something big or write a proposal, and we can go after federal highways or some other big funding agency there to get more funding. Okay, so collaborate, 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 please, with your fellow researchers who you see around the room. I just want to thank the team. Zulema processes all the administrative stuff. Erica does all the electronic communications. You see these reports going out. You see the research highlights and all that. Christina is our librarian, gets the DOI. Gabriel manages the database. Arpit, well, he runs the lab, but he does a lot of other little things too. And then for peer bridge people, Jen Dawson helps out with the payments and all that. So if you have any questions, they're all here, so you can talk to us, except Jen, but talk to us if you have any concerns about your peer-funded projects. We look forward to more collaboration among you and peer reports. Okay, so with that, I end my presentation.